shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications options. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com.
Hush now, city kids, gather round for other mints. Hush now, city kids. When it came to me after so long, I didn't have no choices in the streets where I was from. When I think about the pain, I didn't have no choices. I took what I had sworn. Hush now, city kids, gather round for rubbing mitts. Hush now, city kids. But you know, the wouldn't let you have it any other way.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is the Fans Forum on Monday night, and as always, joined by a panel of Newcastle United's finest to give their opinions on the game that we've just had at the weekend. And Bournemouth came to town and ended the run. Newcastle losing by 4-1. Could have been more, it has to be said. Bad day at the office seems to be the general consensus of opinion out there on social media. And Newcastle United deserve the praise for winning 9 games out of 9, going almost 6 weeks unbeaten. And, Alexander Isak breaking another record held by Alan Shearer. And, you know what? A bit of perspective is probably what I've called for since the defeat, and I'm wondering what the lads are going to say as well, because it's been a great run, and it was a spectacular fall, a spectacular defeat. Was it tiredness? What was it down to? Well, we'll find out what the lads think now. George, good evening. Give us your views.
Hello, Steve. Well, I can't help but be disappointed, like lots of other people. My disappointment, in fact, is more with the manager than it is with the players. Because if you'd watched Bournemouth very closely, I hope to goodness they did, as I did before the Wolves game, and he forced Wolves to change their pattern, and we've seen what happened. Bournemouth didn't change anything. The Bournemouth that was on telly was the Bournemouth that played at St James's with 3 reserve forwards in front. They weren't the first team forwards that were playing against us. And it was almost after the first 5 minutes, and then the goal after 10 minutes, that was going to be more than a tough match. I would have liked to seen Eddie Howe react sooner than he did. There were things he could have done. I mean, I hear people saying how badly the young fullbacks played. The fullbacks played as bad as Bournemouth let them. The Bournemouth plan suckered the 2 young fullbacks into going further up the field than they should. And the midfielders just played the ball inside the fullbacks and run our 2 big centre-halves all over the place. We could have done something about that, in my opinion, to slow that down. I'm not sure it would have made any difference to a final result, but I don't think it would have been 4-1. But Steve Hasty would tell you, after the first few minutes, we were both saying, well, I said it would be 2-0, and both Steve and I said, well, it's going to be a penman, but the wrong way around, 3-1, the wrong way around. And eventually that's what it did. The 4th goal, of course, came because we were running around with headless chickens to try and get a goal, do anything. I'm like, as you say, Steve, I'm glorying the fantastic run that we've had. Glorying the fact that we're goal scorers, been knocking them in for toffee. And that the big ask for me now is if we can recover. If we can recover, and there's no reason why we shouldn't, if they get back to what they were doing before, then that would put things right. But it's quite clear that we got suckered on Saturday because the Bournemouth came with a plan and executed it beautifully. I mean, young Clivert, who got the hat trick, he's got 7 goals and 6 of them are penalties, and yet on Saturday he tore us apart. I think we saw the limitations of our big centre halves, particularly Byrne and Botman together. They're unbalanced in my view, where Byrne, Shaw, Botman, Shaw isn't because of the way they play. So it's given lots to think about. Give Eddie Howe lots to think about. But the big one for me is that we need how we recover. How do we go to Southampton and do something different? Because if we don't, we've got a real problem. But I think I've got confident enough to think that they will. The last 6, 7 games, 9 games haven't been a fluke. You can't go to places like Arsenal, Tottenham, and Manchester United and get results on the basis of a fluke or being lucky. There was nothing like that in it at all. So if it's there, it's up to Eddie and his training team, his coaching team, to bring it back. But bad day at the office is not a bad way to describe it. But for me, who wants to analyse things, I could see things in a football sense that I'm staggered that I could see and that our coaching staff couldn't see.
Tell me what you would have done to change it, George, because honestly, with the size of the squad that we've got and the options on the bench, tell me what you could have done or what you would have done to change that on Saturday.
I would have brought one of the midfielders to protect the back 4 and make it a back 5, so that the 2 young fullbacks couldn't get pulled out of position so easily. Once they made moves to try and support their wingers, we were wide open, and the ball inside the fullback was running with ragged. To put a holding a midfielder in front of the back 4 to virtually make it a back 5 would have shored the 2 fullbacks up better than they were doing beforehand. And in a sense, when he made the changes at half time, that's what he tried to do. But it was too late by then, obviously. The other thing is as well, I mean, I didn't mention Isaac because he's given us such a thrill. He hardly get a kick, but you've got to give credit to Bournemouth for that as well. The 2 centre-halves were never more than an arm's length away from him. And as soon as he got near the ball, the little number 10 dropped back out of midfield and made it 3 against 1. So that's why Isaac didn't get a kick. It did. I mean, I like to analyse things in a football sense. But I could see things I would hoped our manager might have reacted to before he did. That's all. And I think I've got to say, I've felt for the last couple of years that Eddie has an Achilles heel. And that's it. Sadly, sometimes he won't change quick enough. But apart from that, we've got to get over it. The only person that played anything like to form was Tonali. Still covered every blade of grass. Still got all his tackles in. Was remarkable that the way he got round. But that's what I would have done, Steve. I would have shored the back 4 instead of letting the young fullbacks get run ragged like they did.
Yeah, okay. It's just interesting to hear what you would have done. Jano, I think picking out a player is harsh because I think with the exception of Tonali that George has mentioned and Martin Dubravka, nobody could come out of that game with any credit for me. Yeah. Really, I think everybody was found wanting. And again, as I said last night on the professionals app, I put a lot of it down to tiredness as well with some of the players because they've played a huge amount of games in a short space of time, and the games they've played have been against top class opposition. We haven't had an easy game. Maybe you don't get an easy game in the Premier League. Maybe.
Can I come back on the Byrne point, please?
Yeah,
that's why I said that Byrne, Botman together were unbalanced. That's what was wrong. And when the 2 young fullbacks were in trouble, the 2 centre backs were like headless chickens.
Did they not play good against Tottenham and Wolves?
It wasn't just Byrne. It was Botman as well. And I wasn't surprised when Shaw came on at half time.
Yeah, you see with Botman as well. He's coming back from an injury. He hasn't had time to rest. It's the frailties of the squad. We haven't got a big enough squad. We haven't got 11 players that can come on and replace the 11 players. And of course, I think as well. Look, Harvey Barnes isn't. I'm not a huge Harvey Barnes fan, but we didn't have an attacking option either to bring on and change things because Almiron wasn't the answer. Lewis Miley, well, it would have just been same old, unless he came in to do a job that George suggested, which is, to bolster the midfield. But it's gone. It's gone. Magnus, thoughts on the game at the weekend, mate? It was disappointing.
Well, it was a little bit disappointing, but looking at the big picture, 10 games in 6 weeks is a lot of games, and with all the travels and the 3 away wins in a row against the bigger clubs. I mean, this is really taking it out on them. Now, for the first time, we have for a while we have a full week of recovery and to recoup and make amends for it. Those things happen. Bournemouth came there with 10 players injured, similar to what we were dealing with last season, and they were just out of the blocks with intensity and sort of attacking our fullbacks, giving them absolutely no space on the ball. Like you guys said, then they also nullified our attack threats. None of our attacking players had a great game. We're scoring only 1 goal from a set piece at home. It's slightly disappointing, but at the same time, I think it comes back down to what we've all been talking about for a long while. We've been left a little bit behind in recruitment, and with a bit of a bigger squad, we could have rotated a little bit more through these times, like what City and sort of some of the top clubs above us can do. But I mean, I'm not going to cry about it. They had a great game. Patrick Kluivert breaking the record of his father at St. James's Park. I don't even look at him as a fantastic player, but he had a great game, and those things happen. I think we're being a little bit spoiled, thinking we're going to win absolutely everything, and I was a little bit. I had to remove myself from social media over the weekend because I just can't be sucked into this negativity. They did look like a Sunday League team in the last goal. They looked like they were 20 years older than. But it happens. There's fatigue. We still won Wolves, which was a great game. Considering, but there were alarm bells also showing tiredness. We could have easily conceded 2 or 3 goals there with the opportunities that they've got. Can I give a shout out to my father? He watched the first game in about 20 years. He's a Wolverhampton Wanderers fan. His name is Siggy. He's all the way in Manila, and he watches the show religiously, not because he's a Newcastle fan, but because he wants to see what his son is up to. So, hello, Siggy, my father. Grateful for your support, and sorry we took all the 3 points. Anyway, so that's kind of everything that I have to say on the game. Upwards and onwards, those things happen. Forget about it. We've gone through a lot worse than this. There's another good game to make amends for it straight next weekend.
Hello, Magnus's dad, but I'm not sorry we took the 3 points.
I
heard your dad was down.
I was only trying to be kind. I don't really mean that.
Alan, good evening, mate. Good evening.
All right, Steve.
For my part, give us your take.
For my part, look at the bigger picture. We're in the hardest league in the world, and we're 5th. There's 5 points between 4th and 10th position. It's going to be a fight to the end, to the wire for European football. And Bournemouth are right in the mix. That's one of the most complete displays I've seen from a team at St. James's for a long, long time. They played off the park. And I agree a lot what George said. I'll only add that I thought at half time. For 5 minutes to go, I was praying for half time. And 2 minutes later, we let a sucker punch when Bruno got misplaced with a pass and they scored the second goal, because I would have been delighted going in at half time 1 each. I just thought they should have played the ball long. I think they really should. Gibraltar should have kicked a lot more, because it was obvious. And that's where I agree with George. I know one of the comments in the chat was it wasn't up to Eddie, but he could have changed it, because we're playing on the back all the time. Surely, if you know a plan is not working, you change it, you mix it up, surely, in the second half. That's the only complaint I've got, because we're playing the ball, it was too slow, and they were pressing. And like Semedo said after the game, as soon as Newcastle player got the ball from Gibraltar, 3 of them were on the full-backs, they were on the centre-halves. And it was like terriers straight onwards, so they had no chance of passing it or beating their press. So we should have kicked the ball long a few times. That should have happened, in my opinion. I realised it wasn't going to be our day. And I'm not picking on Steve. I know you said about Byrne. Byrne done a cross-field pass where he's a 10-year-old, you're too old a defender, never crossed the ball at the edge of your box across from one side to the other. It went out of play and they got through it. That's just a minor point. And I knew the fullbacks, nobody came out with credit apart from Tonali, like you said, lads. I thought he was immense, even a poor team. Yes, we'll move on. We've got to. Southampton will not be easy, because I think the last 2 games I've seen them, Steve, lads, I think they're playing with freedom now, that they know they're relegated. And they played Man United off the park. So if anybody thinks it's going to be an easy game next week, think again. And
that's not hard, though, is it?
Sorry,
I said that's not hard, playing Man United off the park.
Well, that's it, Ian. That's it as well, Lind. I agree with you there. But
we might have been shit the other day, but we're not that bad.
That's true, like Ian. So I think it's just a big wake-up call, because, like I say, everybody in the chat and the lads here, if we're going against Bournemouth and Southampton and Fulham, which we hope, we would go in the Arsenal game thinking it's a done deal. And I just don't want that to happen against Arsenal, because I want it to get to Wembley. So nobody came out with credit in the sense that, they didn't play well. It happens. We've got to do 9 wins in a row again, lads. We've just got to get, whether it be this season or next season, it's going to be a fight to the finish, lads, for Europe. I don't know where we're going to finish. It's exciting, but it's also nerve-wracking as well. I would love Chelsea to slip up, because they're playing Wolves tonight. I'll be watching it, and I hope they slip up. They're playing Man City on Saturday, so somebody's got to drop points. So we've got to take game by game and beat Southampton on Saturday, lads. That's my take. We've got to move on. Right.
Yeah, you've got to move on. You've got to move on, and that's it. Yeah, and as you quite rightly pointed out as well, other teams are playing each other. There's some big games coming up. Yeah, it's a disappointment after the performances we put in, but we do have to move on. Ian, not very often you get on early ahead of certain people, so here you are. It's your opportunity to let the other lads towards the end go well, as the other lads have said.
Yeah. So for me, as well as us basically not turning up, I don't think anybody really turned up on the day apart from Tonali, and Dubs. But Isak got no service, so you can say he was. I've seen loads of people saying he was shite and that, but you got to give the bugger the ball for a start off. Mm-hmm. It was the worst performance I've seen by Daz's best mate for a long time. The right-hand side was completely inept. I would have took them both off at half-time, and that's what I was screaming for. But I think the main difference that I saw was they did a tune on us. They closed down, they pressed us. Their press was organised. They were together. Ours wasn't. I think our legs had gone, to be fair, and that's a major reason why. They were quick in the transition. They played direct. They counter-attacked. When we were in attacking positions, they took full advantage of that. The gaps between midfield. If it wasn't for Tonali, we'd have conceded another 3 goals. I'm certain of that. Tonali was everywhere. I would love to see how many kilometres or miles, whatever you want to gauge it, and he covered, because like
the most in the Premier League at the weekend, Ian.
It was unbelievable. Like I was saying, even though we were shit, I was saying, I tell you what, that lad put a flipping shift in then. Like, there were mistakes left, right, and centre. People weren't showing for the ball where they should have been. You know, Murphy was awful. I've got to admit, like where he's been amazing, he was like, and I love Murphy, and you know, like we've all given Darren both barrels, because quite rightly as well, because you know he has at times been a little bit harsh on Murph, but Murph, like he played like the Murph of old, unfortunately. But you can't expect these lads to be able to turn out and do what they do every week without a rotation, and Eddie clearly hasn't. Eddie hasn't got faith in the players on the bench, apart from a few players, you know. But I thought in transition they beat us. They were quicker than us. Pardon me. They fought harder than us. I thought the ref refed the game like it was a 1990s game. You know, Bruno got shit kicked out of him for the first half, and we got. I'm not trying not to swear badly here, but we got nothing. Let's put it that way. And then, you know, as soon as it was funny, because I think it was Bruno that got took out, and Big Joe lost a plot and just went through one of them, and then there was a yellow card for either side, and they're kicking off, and I thought, bloody hell, like, you know, they've literally just kicked the shit out of us for about half an hour there. We've got nothing, and then the commentators were saying, like, Joe's lost his head in that, which he did. But to be fair, Big Joe was absolutely useless. He would have, for me, he needed to. But actually, what I would have done was I would have kept him on. I would have took Darren's best mate off, and I would have brought Lewis Miley on, put him in the middle, and put Joe out wide, because I still think Joe had some legs at that point, and Murph was so bad that he looked like a bloody competition winner. You know what I mean? He was just like wandering around, useless. I had some notes wrote down here, but I can't be bothered with them. I'll tell you another thing as well. Their goals. Do you know what they did and what we didn't do? They got in a position and they had a goal. We were trying to bloody be Barcelona and like pass the bugger out the ball. Pass, trying to create the perfect goal, which is not what we've been doing for the last sort of 2 months or month and a half or whatever. We've been seeing an opportunity and having a go, and that's where some of our really, really, you know, great goals have come from, having a crack, and that's what we didn't do, but that's what they did. You know, Cliver tripled his dad's return at St James Park, which, you know, we shouldn't laugh because it's not funny, but that last goal that he scored from 30 yards, you know what I mean? What a belter, you know, like. Well, I think one of you, I think Pablo put it in our group chat, you know, that like he was signed for what, 6 million, something like that, wasn't it? 6 million.
Yeah, it was pittance, really.
You know, and he, you know, they developed, and he played really good. They just outplayed us. So like, when I'm not even down about it. I just thought we were shit. We were knackered. We were knackered on Wednesday, so you can't expect us not to be knackered at 12:30 on a Saturday 2 days later. And I did say before the game kicked off, I thought I just in that morning I thought if we get the 2-1 that I predicted, we've done well. So it was shit, but we've got a week off now, and we are more. I'm not going to go into predictions because I know we'll come back to that, but we've got more than enough to come back from this. So yeah, it all sounds doom and gloom. It's not. We were just shit, to be honest.
Yeah, Pablo.
I'll just go along with that. I'll save my breath and just say sound. In a roundabout way, yeah. Two teams, very different. We were very poor. They were very good. It's a humbling defeat in the sense of we gathered that momentum, but it's also a clear marker of where we're at the minute. And that can, hey, listen, Bournemouth can do that to any given team on any given day. as the fixture suggests, it's a David and Goliath encounter. Well, it's totally not. Bournemouth are, I've said it in our chat this week, they are the blueprint and should be the admiration of all football clubs. The way they've come up through the leagues, the way they go about the business, the recruitment, the management, the selection of manager. Obviously, we took theirs. So, yeah, complete hats off to Bournemouth. They were exceptional in every blade of grass. Tactically, they were phenomenal. Going on to us, probably not to harp on about what the lads have gone on. I noticed every time we had the ball, our fullbacks were forced inside, and it was the opposite. You know, when they're flying forward, our fullbacks, like George said, the young lads, maybe they've not come up against that kind of intensity or that kind of tactical nous before. But
do you not think that part of that was the fact that, like, Joe Linton was so leggy that he wasn't doing what Joe Linton usually does, offering the support that he does?
No, Ian, Wolves had a plan. They deliberately drew our two fullbacks out of the
Aye, they did, yeah.
Slip the ball inside, and it needed somebody deep. You want to use Joe Linton, he should have been protecting the back four.
Yeah,
that's my argument. But as I say, people are saying how bad the fullbacks were. The fullbacks were bad because Wolves made them bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's major gaps wanted down the flanks, like
absolutely.
There was so many. I mean, even if you just look at it from the fullback, so many misplaced passes because they were forced into it. And also, as well, poor decision making as well at certain points. I think Bruno. I mean, there was a lot of we couldn't retain the ball as well as we usually do. Against Wolves, we were zipping that ball about at times, and I even remember saying to my old man, "Jesus, look at the tempo we're flying that ball around." Yeah. We weren't given, first and foremost, we weren't at our best. So we weren't even clicking, and they weren't giving us the opportunity to do that because they were nicking it, stealing it, begging it, and like you've mentioned, they were physical in midfield. It's just one of them lads. You know, these are going to come along. I mean, if it had been, you picked Southampton before. If it had been Southampton that pulled our pants down like that, I'd be extremely disappointed. But it's Bournemouth, you know, and Brighton and Brentford. They have the capability now. Because of the management, because of the way they've progressed, to come and do that to teams. So as much as if you'd have asked me, you know, after the game, I'd have been fuming, bouncing around a biscuit tin. But given it a few days and it's kind of sunk in, we've just, I don't know where I've got that saying from, by the way, you can coin that one. But yeah, let it sink in for a day or two and it's like, it could happen. You know, we're not the finished article. We can't buy anyone. We're stuck in a rock and a hard place as regards PSR. So we're just going to have to take our medicine this week, move on to Southampton. I hear Southampton next week. We've got some two very handsome men going to watch them. So hopefully we'll be on form. And if not, I'll get on at fullback and give it 5 minutes and do my hamstring again.
Good stuff. Cheers, Pablo.
We're not that desperate.
Darren's not negative, it says on his name tonight. So give us some positivity, Darren.
Like I said, I'm not going forward. I'm not going to say he's played bad. We know we played rubbish. We know the players let us down. Well, let ourselves down. Let Eddie down. Let the team down. It's just an off day, and we're always going to lose sometime. And the best team won on the day. You got to give them credit. Say the only players, two players that you see that is Tonali and the Robber. Could have been a few more. So I'm not going to get on. Steve, to be fair, I'm going to be dipping the porch tonight. That's very done.
All right. Okay. Good stuff. You've heard what the lads think. Get your opinions in the chat. I can see most people are already chipping in. We're going to have a look ahead to the Southampton game after the ads. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Contact them at their website, skipsandbins.com, or email www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at mrvickies.co.uk. Email them info@mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. Travel and Tourism Award winners 2024. Two Crew Driver and Courier, local family company 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. All excursions included. Find them at their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. A big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. Their website is media-arts.co.uk. And we're also available as a podcast. You can find us on Sports Social, Podcast Network, iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel, then hit the subscribe button. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the thumb up that likes each video, and click share to share to your social media. Some Newcastle United events coming up. An evening with the entertainers, 24th of January 2025. Box office number is 0191 243 1171. Or website, Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. An evening with Lee Clark takes place on the 31st of January at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets are available on Voucher or from newcastlelegends.com. An afternoon with Celeste Ferdinand takes place on the 6th of April 2025, 12 p.m. till 4 p.m, and that's at the O2 City Hall in Newcastle. Tickets from www.ticketmaster.co.uk or from Voucher. And did you get a book voucher for Christmas? Then why not buy The Entertainers, 1992 to 1997, Kevin Keegan's Legacy by Will Scott. Priced $18.99, also available from newcastlelegends.com. Okay, welcome back to NUFC Matters. Newcastle return to action on Saturday when they visit Premier League basement side Southampton. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff at St Mary's Stadium. All 3,000 away tickets have been sold. And if you're visiting St Mary's, then you will be in a different part of the ground. Away fans have been relocated from the north end, which is the Northam stand, to the southwest Chapel Kingsland corner. So it's a different perspective of the game. After victories at Ipswich, Manchester United and Tottenham, 3 points here for Newcastle would see them have 4 consecutive away games wins in the Premier League for the first time since October 1996 under Kevin Keegan. That 12-point return came at the Mackems 2-1, Spurs 2-1, Leeds United 1-0 and Derby County 1-0. A 2-0 defeat at Leicester then prevented Keegan's side from matching their previous 5-game run that they recorded in October 1994. So the Eddie Howe team chasing down another Entertainers record at the weekend. Newcastle also won 4 consecutive championship games in 2016 and in 2010. A bit early though for team news as far as Newcastle's concerned. Eddie Howe's press conference, of course, will take place at just Friday morning. Newcastle target, if you're led to believe the papers, Tyler Diblin, will probably miss out at the weekend. He's got an ankle problem. He joins Ross Stewart and Jack Stevens on the injured list. Ben Brereton Diaz has rejoined Sheffield United on loan. And Ryan Fraser, hasn't played since the new manager went in. Ivan Juric has gone in last month, and he hasn't given him an opportunity, and he's not injured at this moment in time. There's also another former Newcastle United player at Southampton, and that's Adam Armstrong. He is their joint Premier League top scorer at this moment in time with a staggering 2 goals, one of which came from the penalty spot. And some other stats for you. Well, Southampton have just won one of their 22 Premier League games so far this season. That was a 1-0 home win over Everton back in November. That was the only clean sheet this season in 10 home fixtures. They've lost 8 and they've drawn 1-1 with Ipswich. They take on Newcastle on the back of 5 Premier League losses since a 0-0 draw at Fulham in December. That other point they got was a 1-1 draw at Brighton in November. So we are literally facing one of the worst teams in Premier League history here at this moment in time. They've only scored 15 goals. They've conceded a staggering 50 goals. It's all there in black and white. And Newcastle really should be looking at this and saying this is a great game to follow on from the Bournemouth fixture. It's a chance to put the smile back on Newcastle fans' faces immediately, George. So give us your feelings about this. Is it a game that should be doing that in, and is it a game which could potentially be a banana skin?
I tell you what, if we lose on Saturday at Southampton, next Monday night you'll hear a different George Mitchell, I tell you, because we really should be turning them over if we're going to do anything this year. However, the caveat would be is that if you see the way they played against Manchester United and the previous game, that obviously for the players, there's some sort of resignation amongst them that they're going down. And it's lifted the cloud a little bit, so they're playing with a bit of freedom and starting to play some decent football. But in terms of what we want for Newcastle United, this should be a game that we should be winning. And those that are going should have a good weekend, in my opinion, and as we who watch it on television should be. The only other thing I would add is that I don't know where we're getting these referees from. I hope we get a better one on Saturday. That one at the weekend was close to being the worst. They're not supposed to allow away players to talk. Yet every challenge, Bournemouth players were surrounding him and biting his ear off. So let's have something different on the field in terms of refereeing. But I'm
referee every game and lose.
No.
He was better team.
He was.
I'm with George on that one. I thought he
was absolutely terrible.
And how about you try to let the game flow instead of just being called.
I get what you're saying, Daz, but the facts are they were going through Bruno every time he got near the ball, and he
were taking turns.
I know, but every time we
were taking turns, sent off.
And as soon as
we should be winning on Saturday, Steve. That's the short answer I want to give, and I'd be disappointed if we don't.
Okay, George, thank you. We've got to speak one at a time, lads. We can't hear when you talk over the top. When you talk over the top of each other, it's no good for the viewers. Magnus, your feelings and your thoughts on this game coming up at the weekend. We'll get George's prediction later in the week, of course. Magnus, your feelings, and feel free to give us a prediction as well.
Yeah, what I feel is we need to be right out of the blocks in this one, and with Eddie Howe's philosophy, this is maybe an opportunity to change things up a little bit. Maybe Miley can do a shift, in the starting lineup, and nobody's untouchable after a performance like that, and there's a lot of fatigue maybe involved with that. So I'd like to maybe, the most tired guys, maybe just give them a rest. I'd like to see Fabian Schär back on the team. With regards to Southampton, I think like the heart and soul almost went out of it when James Ward-Prowse left the club. He was truly a big hero for them, and they've just not really been a Premier League threat since. I mean, they go down, they come back up, and they've not had a great time here in the Premier League. We did used to have a bad record in London, but I think we've sort of made amends for that in the last sort of half a year or so. I'm thinking a strong victory. When it comes to the results, I'm expecting at least a 3-0 win. Surely we won't do 2 performances in a row like this, and we had a horrendous record last year away from home, but it has been a lot better this year. So I am. Was there a record-breaking opportunity there? Did you say away?
Just consecutive away wins. Yeah.
Well, we should use all that for our advantage, and I think the guys won't need any encouragement after this performance. You know, they'll all want to get. I mean, this is the first week that they get a decent rest between games. You know, for a little while. And I'm expecting us to get right back on that horse again, and let's just forget about this hiccup. 9 out of 10 games is a 90% winning streak. You know, let's just start another one. Let's get another at least 5 and take it from there. You know, I want to put this right behind us. There's no rear view mirror in my eyes. We were good at this. You know, I remember when we were going through dark times, you know, I was angry for a little bit, you know, right in the end of the game. I usually tossed my shirt into the washing and you know, but another 3 minutes went by and I was already looking, well, what's the next challenge, you know, and I'm just going to look at the next challenge. We should be winning this game, and I'm going to say 3-0 to us.
Okay, good stuff. Alan?
Well, if you talk about banana skin, this will be the biggest banana skin since we got beat off Hereford, in my opinion. You know, it's a 3-1 for me. Magnus, I let them have a goal. It should be more, but 3-1 to me, lads. I mean, if you know George and Ian are saying the ref was bad, I'm blaming the ball for Saturday's performance. I think the ball was wrong. I agree with Darren. I think the ball was wrong, Darren. That's why we were beat 4-1 up ball. No, there was no excuse on Saturday. But honestly, I totally agree what George said there, Steve. They've got that freedom because they know they're going down. They played some good football the last couple of games. I've watched them. So we've got to be on the ball. And like Magnus says, we've got to play. We've got to be what Bournemouth did to us. We've got to get back to how we play, just like they played on Saturday, and give them the right good stuff in. Our record down at Southampton 5-6 years ago was appalling, actually, Steve, because I think they've beaten the team that they've beaten the most is Newcastle, actually, in their history in the Premier League era. But the last 5 or 6 years, we've got a really good record against them. So I expect nothing more than a victory. Even if it's 1-0, lads, I'll accept it because the fact we need these victories to be in top 4 contention. Simple as that.
Okay, prediction, did you say, Alan?
3-1.
3-1, okay. Yeah, Marcus has gone for 3-1 in the chat as well, which is another positive scoreline. Okay, Ian, you're going down, aren't you, with Daz?
I'm not going down on Daz.
Okay, Ian.
Sorry, that's yeah.
The challenge has been knocked off there.
Magnus has gone, embarrassed at Ian's latest race, and apologies to anybody who may have misunderstood what Ian said in the chat.
You know, you got young viewers watching this sort of program.
Yeah, exactly. So apologies to anybody watching.
I can't even blame the booze. I just thought, do you know what it is? I just got sick of Dazzy's positivity, so I thought I'm just going to wind him up a bit. I think straight back on the horse. We've had a chance to have a break, bit of a rest for the lads. I think it was an off day. It was just like you said at the start, bad day at the office. We should have more than enough. You know, we can't be as bad as that again. You know, we couldn't pass wind. I could potentially see a change, personally, but I don't think he will make a change because I think Eddie will think if he makes a change, it'd have to be Murph. It'd have to be on the right-hand side for me, and I think that could do more damage than good. So I think we'll keep with the same team. They've all had a rest, and I think we'll just bad day at the office. We'll just get back on the horse, and I think we'll do them. And I think 3-1 as well. Penman.
All right, mate. Good stuff. Pablo.
I would go. I mean, given the stats that you give out before, Steve, and having looked at the table and the goals and whatnot, if we show up with any kind of form or any kind of endeavour, reason says that we should come away with a result. I wouldn't make any. I'd probably make one change at centre back to mirror what George said before, purely for the fact Adam Armstrong up top for them is a very nippy, cunning little player. So I think probably Sharp will come in at centre back. Who you're playing with, I don't know. I'd probably change that up a bit. But other than that, I'd play with the same team under the proviso of Eddie looking at them players for a reaction mentally. You know, how they come back from that. And that'll probably give us an idea where we go leading up to like games like the Arsenal games, because the last thing we want to do is be going into them with poor form. So I'd go with a strong side. I can see it probably. I'd be happy with a 2-0 win, to be honest, or any win, doesn't matter.
Any win.
Just to get that positive reaction and then wheels turning again. But really, I mean, it's a blessing in disguise. We've had a big knockback this weekend. Look at the league table. We couldn't have asked for a more welcoming fixture, even though no game's easy. You know, we could have been going to somewhere like bloody Chelsea or City or something like that, and that could have sent us on a tailspin. Looking at the Southampton game, it's a perfect opportunity to get them wheels turning again and get our noses looking up. So, yeah, I'm going to go for a win, but I'll say probably a 2-0 win to be fairly conservative and a good reaction. A performance rather than a goal glut.
All right, Darren, finally come to you, mate, and your opinion. You're on your way down there as well. I think you're going down with Denise in the chat.
Yeah, and Pablo, I've got to beat Denise and I'm meeting Pablo, so it's a good away day. I fancy a 4-1 win. I reckon the players will be hurting. They want to prove a lot of people wrong. I think they'll be angry they got beat 4-1 the weekend. They want to prove a lot of people how they can play. So I'm going to be positive still. I fancy. I'll take a 1-0 like Alan said, as long as they win 1-0. But I do fancy 4-1 win. And I would make 2 changes. I'll play Shaw and I'll drop down Burn. And I would play Joe Willock and drop Murphy. That's the 2 changes I would do.
I won't put Willock in, like.
That's if Willock's fit. Okay. To finish off with, Pablo, I'll start with you. You know, I was a bit annoyed about people leaving as early as they did. I understand, you know, some people have got to get buses, etc. But you know what, Pablo? I watched Ipswich yesterday get absolutely tonked off Man City. Hardly anybody left, Pablo. Everybody stayed till the end. Newcastle's just won 9 out of 9, and that's what I'm saying. That, you know, surely you could have waited. Surely you could have waited that extra 5 minutes. You know, you didn't have to go to the pub. It was an afternoon kickoff. You had all afternoon and all night to go to the pub. I just didn't understand people walking out. I just felt it gave us that kind of complex where we have a pop at other fans doing it, and you know, it just stunk of hypocrisy for me. I was a bit disappointed that people left.
Absolutely, bud. I mean, our club, and like exactly, you've hit the nail on the head there. We pride ourselves on kind of unrivaled support. You know, from the first whistle to the last whistle. You know, that is Newcastle United. A lot of clubs kind of are in awe of us for that. So to see and hear that happening, I mean, I don't know numbers wise. You know, I wasn't there. So I just think the kind of smacks of a little bit of an entitlement kicking in. You know, we're not winning, so we'll take our ball home and we'll go home. Rather childish mentality. I think on the whole, when you speak to people in the media or certainly in our chats, it's just you just don't do it. It's not doable. You know, you don't do that kind of thing. You stick with your team from moment one till however long it takes, and you're there in the bad times and the good times. So I wouldn't like to see any more of that happening, mate. And I think the other fans will wean them out.
All right, Ian.
I've just got to say, like, if there was a new viewer of the year, it'd have to go to Tilly, like, because I love rinsing Daz every week. He's absolutely brilliant for me. So
I'm glad you enjoy that, Devin.
Keep up the good work. Yeah, I just thought what differentiates us against everybody else is the fact that, you know, if we win together, we win together. If we lose together, we lose together. You know, I've been to lots and lots of away games where we have absolutely stunk the place out, and everyone's been there, and we've been singing at the end, and you know, like people are saying, oh, it's a long journey home and that, and the coach is never for us. because whatever happens, you know what I mean. We're behind the team, and for me, that was pretty shit. It wasn't. I would be interested to see. I wasn't there, to be fair, so I can't really say too much about it. Like, but I'll be interested to see who's leaving, because I would be very surprised if it's, historical season ticket holders who are leaving, and if it is, I would be really disappointed.
Yeah, it's an upset you don't want kicking in, isn't it? As soon as that starts.
Yeah, 100%. Magnus, what did it look like to you sitting in Iceland?
Yeah, no, I've been blessed with luck. In the past, I've always had a car, so I'm always driving to and from the pitch. So, I take that into consideration when people are leaving early. But I mean, this is a 12 o'clock kickoff. There kind of is no excuse not to stay around. I've always said, and I've said this to my boys a lot, through thick and thin, and the team needs us even more when things are not going right. I think, like, how hard is it to stay for another 10-15 minutes and just float them off the pitch? That's what I would have done. And me and my sons had a little bit of a difficult weekend. They both played the tournament, and my older one got into semifinals of a tournament and lost there, and then my younger son made it to a final and lost there. What would you have thought if I just left, when things weren't going well? These are our boys. Newcastle United are our boys. What would have other parents thought of me if I just walked away when things weren't going our way? You just don't do that. Morally, I feel it's wrong, and I mock other teams for doing it. So who you are, guys. Don't do it again.
Darren.
Disappointed. I'll stay at the end. I'll clap the players when they come around. The fans the quick to stay there when we win, but I think they should have stayed. But as soon as that fourth goal went in, that's it. They were straight out. It was disappointed that they left. They should have just said, "Yeah, we've got to be fair and square," and just clap the players still. But that's all I can say. But I'm disappointed the fans left.
Ow.
I think it's a generation thing, Steve. I mean, the West Ham game, 2-0, we're getting beat, and the ground was half empty after 80 minutes, and it was so disappointing. 2 days later, I mean, I was disappointed in our fans. I must admit, I was really disappointed. I highlighted it when it happened. But 2 days later, Steve, Brighton had the win, beat Southampton, and they were drawn, and their ground was nearly empty, and they still had 10 minutes of injury time, and they could have come second in the Premier League. But the fans were going in their droves, and I couldn't understand it. I just think it's a generation thing, Steve, all over. I'm disappointed when we do it. But I've always said the fans who do leave is, what happens next month, Steve, if we get lucky enough to get to a final? We're going to Wembley. Are you going to leave it 0-0? They get your car, your train back home with 10 minutes to go. Nobody is. I always say that to people. I'm disappointed, but I do think it's a generation thing, Steve. I've left twice in 55 years supporting Newcastle United. Once when I was a 10-year-old and we beat Chelsea 5-0 and it was nils each at half time. And the other game was Wimbledon, when Wimbledon went on to win the cup, when we got beat 3-1 at home in the fifth round. But never again did I do it because I got so much stick for leaving the ground that day. And I've never done it again. But no, to be honest with you, but you get the same excuse, Steve. It's my money. I pay me money. I can go when I want to. So that's what you get back off people. So it's their choice, but it's disappointing.
Blue Rhythm Voices have to disagree with the generational comment, lads. As a youngerish fan, I've only known Ashley really and always stay. New fans aren't necessarily younger fans. Okay, fair point, Blue Rhythm Voice. George, let's just go on, Pablo, quickly. So I've got to get
mate, just before George, I think the only time I'd ever leave early is if my missus will kill me. If Sandra Bullock called me and asked me to meet for a coffee, that is the only time I would ever leave St James's Park.
Thankfully, that'll never happen. George, George, give us your opinion on this before we wrap up.
Well, next month will be my 79th year as a supporter, and I have never, ever left early. If I had, the Chicken Road Academy I talk about on here, which includes grandfathers, uncles, my dad, I would have got a lecture. The only time that I ever got commented home was after my first visit to St James's Park. Beat Barnsley 4-2, and I cheered the Barnsley goals as hard as I cheered the Newcastle goals. I was never allowed to forget that. So if I'd gone home early, heavens delight, it would have been absolutely disaster as far as getting me ears burned. But however, and people go on about this generational thing. I've talked on here before, and I've talked to Steve about it. In the corner of the Gallagher, and Steve, I've realised you've got a picture of the 10-minute flag on the beginning of this programme on your introduction. Yeah. There used to be on the hut where you get your ox, there was a flagpole and had a big black and white striped flag on, and that was the 10-minute flag. And when that was pulled down in 10 minutes, there used to be an exodus in the Gallagher corner, always. And you know, so don't say it's a generational thing. It's been around a while.
I remember
the difference is on Saturday it was marked. It was marked because it was a lot and it was very early. They were going out. It's about 75 minutes, man. Yeah. And by 92, after 80 minutes, me and Steve Hastings, we had a pool around with empty seats. We've never seen that before.
We all sing Evermore as well, George, don't we?
Sorry?
We all sing Evermore.
Yeah. And the mantra I had to live with my group, my family was, you're a supporter. Supporters stay. And that's what was drummed into me. And but as I say, I remember the 10-minute flag and people used to disappear at 10 minutes. And it used to ease the crowd in the Gallagher corner, so many went home. And the number of times they went home and we were actually losing, by the time they got home, we'd won. You know, I'm thinking cup matches against Portsmouth. People were leaving at 10 minutes and it was 2-1 to Portsmouth. But we won 4-2 at the end, thanks to Bobby Mitchell. You know, but people used to do it. I'm not going to say that it's just now. The difference now is it's a lot. It was, I mean, Steve Wraith said it. It was a lot. It was marked, and from 75 minutes, really. I mean that's.
I noticed it against the West Ham game, George.
That I don't understand. It's very, very difficult. As I say, next month will be my anniversary of 79 years, and I've never ever gone home soon from a match, and I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare.
Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thank you to all the moderators. Thanks to Pablo, Ian, Magnus, Darren, Alan, and George. I'm back tomorrow night with Sid and with Rob. 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Talking it to with Sid and Rob.
Darren. Pablo. Look after Denise.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.